Welcome. This is my Make a Difference presentation, and I chose to tackle the ethical dilemma of animal testing. It's made by me, Ethan Dolbo. So, what is animal testing? It can range the testing of a variety of different products, such as fragrances, different drugs like painkillers, and a bunch of different chemicals on certain animal subjects in a lab. These animal subjects can range from rats, guinea pigs, rabbits, dogs, many more. They use all sorts of animals, even like monkeys and things like that. Um, and sometimes many animals are used per one test. So they'll test a certain drug on just a wide variety of animals just to see what happens to each one. But for others, a product may just be repeatedly used on one animal just to see how it reacts over time. And this sort of testing puts animals in a lot of isolating and painful condition, a lot of extreme stress, and can often lead to the animal's death due to the toxic chemicals or drugs they would be um, implemented on with. So, what is already being done about this issue? There's already certain departments with laws in place, like the Animal Welfare Act, Public Health Service, and the United States Department of Agriculture, put in place to protect the rights of the animals. But many of these departments, like the Animal Welfare Act, barely protect most of the animals being tested upon. I believe it doesn't include like any like vertebrate animals like dogs or mice or birds or anything like that. Others, like the Public Health Service, rarely even enforce the rules put in place to protect these animals at all. Oftentimes, they're underfunded by the government, so they can't even really, even if they wanted to, control the testing that's being done. Um, and while these are some of the features already put in place to protect the health and safety of these animals, I do think there's a lot that needs to be done to change the conditions that these labs are in. So applying this issue to what we've learned over this semester, I think this kind of applies to the four principles of healthcare we learned about earlier in the year. While that is like a only involved in healthcare, I believe that kind of connects to like the defense or the arguments against animal testing. And many would argue that the same securities put in place for humans, like non-maleficence and beneficence, should also be applied to animals. So, like whatever, like non-maleficence says, the cause to do no harm towards humans. A lot of people would argue that the same should be applied to animals, that we should not be doing these tests that easily put them in harm's way. This really all depends on how the individual themselves views the animals. Like many of the um, people against the testing think that the animals should get the same respect and protections as humans do, so they can ensure the safety that they will not purposely be put in harm's way when being exposed to all these drugs and chemicals during animal testing. And of course, like all ethical issues, there are like a middle ground. Um, I'm sure if you just ask somebody on the street, they would be against, obviously, just putting animals in harm and like killing them on, obviously not on purpose, but it happens in animal testing. But I feel like a lot of people would agree, um, like it can be necessary when like testing for medicines that could obviously help humans stay alive for longer. But yeah, there's definitely middle ground. Most people obviously aren't either stuck on one side or the other. I would say this also can be applied on like the questions asked of why humans should be moral and like what the actual question of being moral means, and then following like certain laws that are established already, and whether that makes you a moral person or not. So I'd say like those against animal testing would obviously say it would be immoral to purposely put animals through harm for our own gain. But like the argument against that would be that there's nothing wrong with us testing on animals in order to help save human lives. And I think there is good points on either side. Obviously, um, it's not good to hurt animals and have to see them go through that. But there's also the chance that it could be a big breakthrough. Um, for humankind and like helping more humans live. But as I will explain later, there are some ulterior methods in doing this. Um, and yeah, as I said in the previous slide, there are some laws already in place. Many of them aren't even followed, or the laws aren't even really doing anything. What should we do about this issue in order to see an actual change? It seems like such a thing that's just in place in society that we can't really do much about. But there is like some small changes, definitely using like cruelty-free products, as you see down here on the bottom of the screen. These are some of like the labels that I use on products, so you can know whether or not you're buying a cruelty-free product or not. Then always like just sharing petitions or any articles can help spread awareness, because definitely the more information you spread about what's going on in these labs, a lot of people are going to disagree with that. Some people are just unaware about what's going on. Definitely letting them know will help spread some information, and you could definitely gain some supporters through that way. And this is the last one, can be difficult, but if you have the money and really do want to make a change, you could definitely donate to an organization or some sort of charity that can actually take the lengths to go to like lawmakers, Congress people, and stuff like that to actually prevent animal testing, create laws to better enforce that. Why should we be doing this? There was an article that really stuck out to me. Um, they did a undercover investigation of this Innovative Lab, which held a bunch of experiments. They mainly did like dogs and mice. They had these animals constantly tested on with drugs. They said like sometimes they couldn't even move after just constantly being exposed to drugs, or a lot of them got killed from it. Like this beagle named Riley they found, he died a very painful death after being exposed to toxic substances. Because yeah, their main priority is not to really keep these animals alive. It's more to, in the name of science, trying to gain more information. But yeah, they really, that's not their priority, is to help keep these animals safe or alive. I feel like no matter how you feel about animal testing, these experiments seem even like barbaric. It should be changed, should be more mindful of the animal's health, because this really is like an outdated way of gaining knowledge. There are many better ways that don't involve actively harming animals that we could implement to learn more. And yeah, even though humans are seen as the superior, we're more intelligent. We do things like killing animals for food. Um, I would say this method of just purposely harming animals in order to gain knowledge is definitely like an unethical thing, while there are some other alternatives that do not involve doing this. And I think, how should we fix this issue? Like I've been mentioning this whole presentation, there are many alternatives. Some include reducing the number of animals used in an experiment. Obviously, this isn't the ideal way, because there's still involved animals being hurt, but it's definitely better than like the that article. There's like 6,000 animals involved in that. Obviously, it's still not good, but less animals would be better. There's some testing that involves the use of animals, but it's not like to deadly or harmful chemicals. And even when they are testing on them, they put them in like houses and make sure they're not stressed out, or anything like that. Because usually in like the labs, they just stick them in cages. They're isolated, which causes obviously heavy stress. And I think the best plan that I found was like, due to the how advanced or how rapidly technology is advancing, is a type of tech like computer program that completely eliminates the use of physical animals. It uses like computer programs to like actually represent a cell-based organism, and using like all the data they found over the years to kind of see how certain things would interact to that. And I think this should be used as often as possible, and live animals should only be used when absolutely necessary, like when maybe it's a new type of drug, and the computer program fails, and this is like an important like medicine or something that could help save human lives. And I think while this technology would definitely be expensive to go through and replace all the animal testing labs, I was thinking that all these organizations that are already put in place but aren't really doing anything, they could take all the funding from those and just, since they wouldn't be heavily monitoring, since there would be a lot less animal testing, you could just put all this funding into getting this technology around, because I think that would really help. Um, I think that's a great idea. I don't know why that hasn't been implemented more. But yeah, I think that would just be a huge help in order to lessen the amount of animals being harmed and killed throughout testing. And that is my take on the uh, ethical issue of animal testing and what I think we can do to make a difference on it. There are my sources, and that is it.